Have you ever pondered the peculiar nature of wealth? Some individuals labor diligently for 40 years, rising before dawn and toiling late into the night, meticulously following every guideline, only to remain perpetually anxious about upcoming expenses. Conversely, a different breed of people seems to navigate life with a distinct approach. Their primary objective isn't merely to earn money, but to have money work for them, even during periods of rest. A significant portion of us are indoctrinated with a conventional narrative: excel academically, secure a respectable position, receive a consistent salary, and be content. However, a critical, often overlooked reality is rarely disclosed. A regular income can sustain you, but it cannot liberate you. True freedom cannot be acquired solely through earning capacity. Freedom is cultivated through ownership of assets. The affluent comprehend this fundamental principle. They perceive each monetary unit as a potential seed. The average person expends every seed for immediate gratification. The prosperous, however, plant enough seeds to ensure future liberation. They do not inquire, "What was my income this month?" Instead, they ask, "What did I build this month?" In this discourse, I intend to illuminate an alternative perspective on your finances, your professional agendas, and your long-term prospects. This is not a matter of chance or speculative ventures, but rather an adherence to 10 established principles of wealth management. The affluent operate under specific rules that transform a modest paycheck into substantial assets. These are principles that quietly generate passive income while the world sleeps, safeguard your earnings from fiscal levies and imprudent expenditures, and ultimately enables you to transition from a state of constant financial worry to the diligent construction of enduring prosperity. Should you remain engaged until the conclusion, 2 of these principles possess the potential to profoundly alter your perception of monetary matters. One principle will reveal why the majority of individuals dedicate their lives to earning, only to unknowingly forfeit half of their income. Another will elucidate why the wealthy do not fear debt or taxation. Rather, they strategically employ them as instruments. My esteemed friend, this pursuit transcends mere financial enrichment. It is about achieving autonomy. It is about liberation from the dread that accompanies each incoming bill, from the insecurity of losing a single employment opportunity or client, and the freedom to pursue work that genuinely resonates with your values, rather than out of sheer desperation. As you absorb this information, I implore you to consider a singular action. Rather than asking, "Do I understand this?" pose the question, "Do I implement this?" For financial progress is not a consequence of mere knowledge, but of consistent practice. Let us commence. Principle 1. Cease working solely for monetary gain. Begin cultivating assets. For many years, my understanding of work's purpose was rudimentary: maximize income. Consequently, I dedicated myself to working with an intensity that surpassed those around me, embracing earlier mornings, extended evenings, additional hours, and amplified effort. Each increase in my earnings felt like a victory until an unsettling realization dawned. I was not progressing. I was engaged in a Sisyphean struggle. My income increased, yet my expenditures escalated proportionally. I felt productive, but I was not constructing anything that could truly emancipate me. My existence was predicated on survival, not on achieving independence. At that juncture, a mentor, with unwavering directness, imparted this truth: income sustains you, assets liberate you. That declaration impacted me profoundly. I finally grasped that the core issue was not the quantity of my earnings, but rather the purpose to which I was applying them. The vast majority of individuals dedicate their lives to earning money. The affluent, however, dedicate their lives to making money work for them. This distinction is the sole differentiator, yet it marks the chasm between mere existence and genuine freedom. Contemplate this analogy. Imagine yourself as a farmer. At the close of each month, you receive a sack of seeds. These seeds symbolize your paycheck. You are now presented with 2 avenues. You can consume all the seeds, as they currently suffice for your daily sustenance. Alternatively, you can cultivate a portion of these seeds, fostering their growth into something substantially more significant for the future. Most individuals opt to consume all their seeds. They rationalize this choice with justifications such as, "I do not yet earn enough. I will commence saving once my income increases," or "I deserve to reward myself first." They treat each seed as a source of temporary comfort rather than an investment in future liberation. Consequently, year after year, they remain dependent on their subsequent paycheck. The slightest disruption, a medical emergency, job loss, or unforeseen crisis can precipitate the collapse of their lives, as nothing has been sown for future sustenance. The affluent approach this matter differently. They consume adequately for present needs, but they invariably sow the remainder. They grasp a simple yet potent truth. If you consume all your seeds in the current season, you will have no harvest in the subsequent one. Assets are precisely those seeds you cultivate. They are essentially money-generating mechanisms disguised as investments. They mature discreetly. They operate silently. They provide returns even when you are not actively engaged in labor. They transform current effort into future freedom. A substantial income does not inherently equate to affluence. Ownership does. I once encountered an individual who projected an image of considerable wealth, luxurious attire, an expensive automobile, and a high-paying position. However, upon posing a single inquiry, he fell silent. If you ceased working today, for how long could you sustain your current lifestyle? His outward appearance suggested prosperity, but his internal reality was one of entrapment. He possessed abundant income, yet a scarcity of assets. Conversely, I met a teacher whose earnings were considerably more modest. Nevertheless, she consistently allocated a portion of each paycheck towards acquiring assets, dividend-paying stocks, a small rental property, and a modest online enterprise. Over time, her assets began to generate income for her. Eventually, she achieved a state where she could subsist without her salary. While not ostentatiously wealthy on paper, she was undeniably free. And here lies the unvarnished truth. The majority of people resist accepting that freedom is not forged from income. Freedom is constructed through ownership. You do not require a substantial salary increase to commence the accumulation of assets. You require a paradigm shift in your thinking. Every monetary unit you acquire must be assigned a purpose, either to provide for your present needs or to facilitate your future liberation. Before making any expenditure, ask yourself a crucial question. Will this seed perish in my mouth, or will it mature into a source of ongoing income? Because if you do not compel money to serve you, it will inevitably compel you to serve it for the remainder of your existence. This is precisely why the affluent adhere to a fundamental practice. Irrespective of their income level, they never forego the act of sowing seeds. And this leads us directly to the subsequent principle. Principle 2. Prioritize your own financial well-being. Cultivate the daily habit of planting seeds. The prevailing belief is that wealth materializes only when one attains a higher income. People often articulate sentiments like, "Once I secure a better position, I will commence saving. When my earnings increase, then I will invest." Or, "When circumstances become more favorable, I will formulate a plan." However, that anticipated day rarely arrives. The reason is that wealth does not originate from financial abundance. It commences with the establishment of a habit. You do not attain wealth by earning more. You attain wealth by learning to retain a portion of your earnings, regardless of how modest it may be. I once advised the student, do not defer the cultivation of discipline until you possess greater financial resources. Establish discipline first, and wealth will follow. He responded with amusement, stating, "But saving a mere $5 or $10 is inconsequential." 3 years later, I encountered him again. His income had risen, yet he still had not accumulated any savings. He reiterated the same refrain, "I am not yet prepared." I offered a gentle smile, for the lesson was exceptionally clear. The determinant factor is not the quantity you possess, but rather the person you become with what you have. If you never learn to sow seeds when your resources are limited, you will never do so when they expand. Your circumstances will not transform your habits. Your habits will transform your circumstances. The affluent grasp this concept with profound clarity. They do not await the accumulation of millions to commence investing. They begin with whatever resources are available and allow time and discipline to perform the essential work. A single dollar invested consistently yields greater returns than $100 squandered impulsively. They adhere to a simple yet potent rule: always allocate funds for yourself first. This precedes bill payments, entertainment, and lifestyle expenditures. It is not born of a desire for self-deprivation, but rather from a strategic effort to shield their future from their immediate impulses. Envision this scenario. Every time you receive payment, you immediately set aside a portion of it, a seed. The exact amount is secondary. The act of doing so is paramount. Even an allocation of 2%, 5%, or 10% can prove transformative if practiced consistently. You are effectively conditioning your financial resilience. Consider physical exercise. You do not wait until you are fit to begin working out. You exercise to achieve fitness. The same principle applies to financial management. You do not await the emergence of discipline to commence saving. You save to cultivate discipline. Consistency is more valuable than sporadic intensity. It is more advantageous to invest $20 consistently than $500 erratically. It is more beneficial to establish a habit than to rely on fluctuating motivation. And here lies the crucial insight. Your financial institution will not inform you that money not intentionally earmarked for a specific purpose is liable to be spent impulsively. If you do not assign a mission to each dollar, your emotions will redirect it towards distractions. A coffee here, a subscription there, a meal out, a new gadget, a fleeting trend, a discount that ultimately incurs more expense than it saves. These are subtle drains, minor indulgences, imperceptible losses that silently erode your freedom. Most individuals do not face financial ruin due to a single catastrophic event. They succumb to a multitude of small, unconsidered decisions. You must resolve that every dollar you earn has a designated function. Some dollars will nourish your present needs, while others will facilitate your future liberation. How can you initiate this process? Here is a straightforward methodology you can implement immediately. First, determine a percentage. Begin conservatively, perhaps 2%. The habit itself holds more significance than the sum. Second, automate the process. Utilize a separate account or an investment application. Do not rely on willpower. Trust the system. Third, mentally label this allocation as freedom money, not merely savings or leftovers. Label it as freedom. When you safeguard your seeds, you safeguard your future. With the passage of time, this habit becomes an intrinsic component of your financial identity. You cease to perceive money through an emotional lens. You discontinue living for immediate gratification. You transition from hoping to actively building. And then something remarkable occurs. Your relationship with money undergoes a transformation. You no longer pursue it with desperation. You guide it with purpose. It is at this juncture that money begins to work for you. Therefore, ask yourself today, am I prioritizing everyone else's needs and hoping something remains for me? Or am I prioritizing my future and allowing the world to claim whatever is left? Because if you do not allocate resources for yourself first, you are effectively laboring for everyone except yourself. And this practice directly segues into the subsequent principle. not merely planting seeds daily, but planting them in the appropriate locations. Principle 3. Design your financial reservoirs for security, growth, and self-enhancement. Prioritizing your financial well-being is potent, but without a clear direction for those funds, you could still face financial decline, albeit at a slower pace. Saving without a strategy is akin to scattering seeds on random soil. Some ground is fertile, some is arid, and some will yield no harvest, regardless of the duration of your efforts. The affluent understand a principle that eludes most individuals. It is not about accumulating money. It is about strategically allocating it. The average person disperses their funds haphazardly, investing in whatever appears popular at the moment: a friend's startup, a new cryptocurrency, a trending stock, or a fashionable business concept. They are not investing. They are engaging in excited speculation devoid of proper research. Consequently, when the chosen ventures fail to yield returns, they attribute blame to the inherent nature of money. Meanwhile, the affluent operate under a straightforward philosophy. Do not scatter your seeds randomly. Plant them with strategic intent. They compartmentalize their funds into 3 distinct reservoirs, each serving a unique objective. This approach eschews chaos, emotional decision-making, and transient trends in favor of a systematic framework. Let us examine these reservoirs. Reservoir 1, security, the foundational element. This reservoir is designed to safeguard your existence, not to impress others. Its growth is gradual but consistent, much like the deep roots anchoring a sturdy tree. This category encompasses investments such as index funds, bonds, blue-chip dividend stocks, emergency savings, and stable real estate holdings. These assets may not be ostentatious, but they are dependable. They will not render you wealthy overnight, but they will ensure you are never financially vulnerable overnight. The affluent recognize that genuine freedom is unattainable without a bedrock of stability. A structure built on sand, regardless of its architectural elegance, is destined to collapse. Reservoir 2, growth, the realm of opportunity. This is where significant potential resides. While results are not guaranteed, calculated risks are undertaken. Many individuals erroneously prioritize this reservoir before establishing a secure foundation, leading to detrimental outcomes. The affluent, however, engage with this reservoir only after cultivating a sense of security. Growth investments include venture capital in startups, emerging technologies, thoroughly researched cryptocurrencies, scalable business ventures, and investments in developing markets. Not every investment will yield substantial returns, but even a few successful ventures can lead to an enormous harvest. This reservoir serves to accelerate wealth accumulation rather than merely protecting existing capital. The key here is disciplined execution, not impulsive excitement. Opportunity without a foundation devolves into chaos. Opportunity coupled with a foundation becomes a powerful leverage. Reservoir 3, self-investment, the avenue of infinite returns. This is the reservoir that most individuals overlook, yet it yields the highest return of all. No investment surpasses the value of investing in oneself. This includes acquiring books that broaden one's intellectual horizons, enrolling in courses that refine skills, seeking mentorship that shortens the learning curve, and adopting health practices that enhance physical productivity. Developing abilities in communication, leadership, and problem solving are invaluable. Money can be illicitly acquired, assets can depreciate rapidly, and markets can experience collapse. But no one can divest you of your mindset, your skill set, your character, or your competence. These are assets that offer an infinite return on investment. The impoverished tend to purchase entertainment. The middle class acquires liabilities. The affluent invest in growth. The affluent treat learning as an investment, not an expenditure. The principle of balance. The peril lies not in possessing a single reservoir, but in relying exclusively on one. If you solely focus on security, you will achieve stability, but progress at a glacial pace. If you exclusively pursue growth, you will endure instability and stress. If you neglect self-investment, you will stagnate, never transcending your current limitations. Wealth expands in a manner analogous to the growth of a forest. Some trees provide shade, others offer fruit, and some yield durable timber. If a storm arises, certain trees may fall, but the forest as a whole will endure. This constitutes true wealth. Therefore, reflect today. Where are my financial seeds being planted? Are they providing security? Are they multiplying? Are they enhancing my personal development? Your liberation will not stem from increased exertion. It will emerge from the intentional allocation of financial resources. And once your reservoirs are strategically designed, the subsequent step is to ensure those seeds generate income without your direct intervention. Principle 4. Cultivate income-generating assets before indulging in lifestyle enhancements. A pervasive and dangerous misconception in contemporary society is the desire to project an image of affluence before achieving true financial independence. Individuals pursue symbols of wealth, vehicles, apparel, electronic devices, luxurious residences, long before acquiring any assets that can finance these acquisitions. They elevate their standard of living while neglecting to enhance their income-generating mechanisms. I once encountered an individual who possessed every conceivable luxury. His vehicle payments were substantial, his apartment rental was premium, and his expenditures projected an aura of success. However, when I posed the question, "How much income do you generate while you sleep?" he regarded me in silence. He appeared affluent, yet his lifestyle held him captive. He was compelled to work overtime merely to maintain the facade he had constructed. The affluent engage in a different strategic approach. Before acquiring luxuries, they invest in income-producing assets, deferring immediate comfort. Assets are entities that provide ongoing financial returns, such as rental properties, dividend-paying stocks, automated online businesses, royalties, digital products, scalable service offerings, and content that generates revenue even when you are not actively engaged. Initially, these may not seem glamorous. They do not possess the immediate allure of a new automobile, nor do they impress acquaintances promptly. However, they achieve one crucial outcome. Luxury itself never bestows freedom. A vehicle depreciates in value the moment it is purchased. A cash-flowing asset, conversely, increases in value from the moment it is established. The majority of people believe they require a higher income to build cash flow. The reality is precisely the opposite. You do not need more income. You need a reordering of priorities. The affluent do not inquire, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "Will this generate income for me monthly, or will it deplete my resources monthly?" One question fosters freedom. The other cultivates anxiety. Let us simplify this concept. If an item consistently withdraws funds from your account each month, it is a liability. If an item consistently deposits funds into your account each month, it is an asset. And here lies the crucial mindset shift that unlocks genuine wealth. Allow your assets to finance your lifestyle, not your paycheck. Before purchasing that car, ensure you own something that can cover its expenses. Before renting that opulent apartment, possess something that can fund the rent. Before embarking on first-class travel, own something that generates income while you are en route. Luxury without a supporting income stream is akin to a gilded cage. Luxury financed by assets, however, represents freedom adorned in the finest silk. True freedom is not derived from what you purchase, but from what generates revenue for you. Therefore, ask yourself at this very moment, am I creating assets that generate income for me, or am I financing expenses that ensnare me? You need not abandon your aspirations for a desirable lifestyle. Simply alter the sequence. First, establish income-generating assets. Then allow those assets to facilitate the lifestyle you envision, thereby affording you the luxury of rest. Your assets, however, must never cease their activity. And once your assets begin to function on your behalf, a more profound question emerges. How can you increase your income without extending your working hours? This is the secret to the subsequent principle. Principle 5. Monetary compensation follows value, not the duration of labor. The majority of individuals attempt to augment their income by extending their working hours, operating under the assumption that greater temporal investment will yield proportionally greater returns. Consequently, they sacrifice evenings, weekends, and their energy reserves, yet remain seemingly static in their financial standing. The reason for this stagnation is that the world remunerates not for effort, but for value delivered. Consider two individuals employed within the same organization. One dedicates 10 hours daily to routine tasks. The other dedicates 6 hours daily to resolving high-impact problems that either reduce costs for the company or enhance its revenue streams. Who will receive a higher remuneration? Not the individual who worked more diligently, but the one who made a more significant contribution. Income is not quantified by hours expended. It is quantified by usefulness. This explains why individuals holding identical job titles can earn vastly different amounts. The disparity lies not in the time invested, but in the creation of value. Allow me to share a valuable insight. A mentor once advised me, Jim, do not focus on how you can work more hours. Instead, focus on how you can become more valuable within fewer hours. This fundamental shift profoundly altered my trajectory. I ceased pursuing overtime and instead focused on acquiring skills, knowledge, and problem-solving capabilities. For when you become valuable, financial resources are compelled to follow. They have no alternative. The affluent understand this principle at a profound level. They do not seek increased compensation for their time. They seek increased compensation for their inherent value. And value originates from a singular source, assisting a greater number of people and assisting them more effectively. The wealthiest individuals globally are not those who engage in the most strenuous physical labor. They are the architects of solutions that impact millions. Elon Musk's compensation is not a reflection of his working hours, but of his capacity to address monumental challenges. Jeff Bezos did not merely exchange his time. He constructed a system that dispenses value around the clock. Michael Jordan's earnings were not derived from playing with greater intensity. His brand flourished because he created global value. In the current era, with the advent of advanced technology, artificial intelligence, and the burgeoning creator economy, your capacity to generate value can scale exponentially. Your skills can reach thousands, even millions, irrespective of your physical presence. You can conceptualize products, content, systems, or knowledge that serve others even in your absence. Therefore, how can you amplify your value? Not by extending your working hours, but by cultivating skills that multiply your impact. Ask yourself, can I assist individuals in saving money? Can I help them generate more income? Can I resolve a significant pain point? Can I enhance efficiency, improve outcomes, or elevate the overall experience? Financial resources gravitate towards those who address meaningful problems. Here is the critical takeaway. Do not work to appear busy. Work to be valuable. You do not need to achieve genius-level intellect. You need to become useful at a superior level. Acquire a skill that holds significance. Practice it diligently. Refine it continuously. Apply it to address genuine needs. When you do so, your income will inevitably rise, even if you work fewer hours, because income serves as a mirror reflecting the value you create. The affluent do not ponder, how can I earn more money? They contemplate, how can I become more valuable? This mindset not only augments income, but also attracts opportunities, collaborative partners, clientele, and leverage. However, value alone is insufficient. Many individuals who possess significant value continue to struggle financially due to a deficit in a crucial skill. They fail to manage their finances effectively. Principle 6. Meticulously track every dollar, adopting the practices of the affluent. Many believe that wealth accumulation is primarily a function of increased earnings. However, the reality is that more individuals face financial ruin due to a lack of control over their existing resources than due to insufficient income. The problem is seldom the income itself. It is the absence of awareness. The majority of individuals possess precise knowledge of their earnings, yet they remain entirely unaware of their expenditure patterns. They spend impulsively, forget their transactions quickly, and offer immediate justifications. It is merely a coffee. It is just a quick lunch. It is only a subscription fee. It is a discount I am receiving, thus saving money. However, here lies a stark reality. Minor breaches can capsize large vessels. This is not because a single drop is inherently perilous, but because thousands of such drops occur unnoticed. Individuals do not face financial collapse due to a single substantial purchase. They succumb to a myriad of unseen decisions. I once engaged in a review with a young professional who expressed, "I earn a good income, yet I cannot comprehend why I am perpetually short of funds by the end of the month." Consequently, we meticulously reviewed his spending line by line. Within 60 minutes, a startling realization dawned upon him. He wasn't impoverished. He was simply uninformed. The financial losses he incurred weren't due to catastrophic errors, but rather from unthinking daily routines. It was then he grasped a truth the affluent have always understood. You cannot expand wealth you do not manage. The wealthy engage in an activity the average individual deems excessively arduous, meticulously tracking every single dollar. This meticulousness isn't born of avarice, but from a profound respect for their funds. They understand that capital gravitates towards those who direct it and departs from those who neglect it. If you fail to assign a purpose to your money, it will dissipate of its own accord. The affluent do not speculate. They do not wish for fortunes. They do not rely on memory. Instead, they measure, meticulously record, continually review, and thoughtfully adjust. This heightened awareness transforms into a formidable financial capability the moment you clearly perceive your financial landscape. You begin to make necessary reductions without pain, realizing the true cost of your current expenditures in lost freedom. Here is an exercise that has demonstrably transformed lives: the 30-day awareness audit. For one full month, document every single expenditure. Include every cup of coffee, every snack, every recurring subscription, every impulsive online purchase, and every minor outlay. At the conclusion of the month, identify those purchases that provided no discernible value. Pinpoint the emotional triggers that lead to unnecessary spending. Redirect even 10% of your wasteful expenditures into productive investments. A mere 10% channeled into assets can fundamentally alter your financial trajectory within a few years. For the genuine secret is this: financial liberation commences long before any investment is made. It begins with dominion. Income devoid of self-control is a perilous trap. Income coupled with self-control transmutes into capital. Capital in turn generates assets. Ultimately, assets yield freedom. Therefore, reflect upon this. Do I command my finances, or do my finances command me? The majority of individuals labor for monetary gain. The affluent, however, compel their resources to labor for them. And this industriousness originates from awareness. Once you master the art of controlling your earnings, you will possess the capacity to construct and safeguard substantial prosperity. The affluent safeguard their fortunes through methods most people never comprehend. They do not merely consider their immediate financial situation. They envision beyond their own lifespan. Rule 7 dictates, preserve what you earn. Employ debt and taxation strategically, much like the affluent. Most people dedicate their lives to generating more income, while the affluent invest their lives in learning how to retain the wealth they already earn. Two individuals might earn identical incomes, yet one achieves affluence while the other remains burdened by stress. The divergence is not attributable to innate talent, serendipity, or even their chosen profession. The distinction is straightforward. One understands the mechanics of money, while the other is subject to its dictates. There exist two principles that the majority of people either dread, misunderstand, or actively ignore: debt and taxes. Yet these two forces are pivotal in determining who thrives financially and who struggles. Let us commence with the first. The less affluent utilize debt to project an image of wealth. The affluent leverage debt to attain genuine liberation. Debt itself is not the adversary. Ignorance is. Detrimental debt arises when you borrow to acquire items that drain your financial resources. Acquiring the latest smartphones, opulent automobiles, designer apparel, or enhanced living accommodations through debt may offer a transient sense of affluence, but it compels you into perpetual labor. Bad debt purchases superficial impressions. Good debt procures income. Beneficial debt is utilized to establish or acquire income-generating assets, such as residential properties that yield rental income each month, thriving businesses, apparatus or frameworks that produce revenue, or real estate that appreciates in value and generates cash flow. The affluent borrow solely when the debt is projected to generate more income than its associated cost. They do not borrow to appear prosperous. They borrow to own entities that produce prosperity. An individual who procures a luxury vehicle through debt becomes enslaved to its ongoing payments. Conversely, an individual who leverages debt to acquire a rental property utilizes the tenant's payments to cultivate financial freedom. One party pays interest, the other receives it. Now regarding the second influential factor, taxation. Most individuals perceive taxes as an unavoidable, uncontrollable, and unpleasant obligation. Consequently, they rarely investigate their intricacies, contenting themselves with complaints, rudimentary paperwork, and the quiet annual forfeiture of funds. Meanwhile, the affluent view taxes as a systematic framework of incentives designed to acknowledge specific financial behaviors. Governments actively encourage property investment, enterprise development, employment generation, retirement provisioning, long-term financial commitments, and asset accumulation, rewarding these actions through tax benefits. Therefore, the affluent inquire, how can I legally structure my life in the most tax-efficient manner? They establish assets through ventures where legitimate operational costs diminish taxable income. They invest in properties where depreciation reduces tax liabilities, establish retirement accounts offering tax-advantaged growth, and make investments where long-term capital gains are taxed at a lower rate or deferred. The less affluent are taxed on their labor, while the affluent are remunerated for cultivating value. Employees bear the highest tax burden, whereas investors and business owners contribute to economic expansion through their tax payments. This is not a transgression. It is an astute engagement with the financial system, guided by knowledge rather than impulse. Here lies a stark reality. The majority of individuals dedicate 40 years of their lives to earning money, yet scarcely dedicate 40 days to understanding how money operates. They harbor a fear of debt, leading them to shun leverage. They dread taxation, causing them to overpay. They are apprehensive of knowledge, thus they resist transformation. Yet true liberation belongs to those who actively learn. Ignorance represents the most costly tax of all. Consider a novel perspective. Instead of asking, how much do I earn? Ask, How much do I retain? How much do I expand? And how much is actively working on my behalf? Prosperity is not solely defined by income. It is determined by ownership, leverage, and strategic planning. Once you master the art of retaining a greater portion of your earnings, an even more potent endeavor awaits. Building not merely for your own benefit, but for a legacy that endures beyond your lifetime. Rule 8. Embrace a generational mindset. Cultivate prosperity that transcends your existence. Most individuals contemplate finances only within the confines of their own lifespan. They ponder, how can I live comfortably? The truly affluent, however, pose a different inquiry. How will my descendants fare as a consequence of what I establish today? The significant misjudgment lies in believing that wealth ceases to exist with us. In actuality, the ramifications of our financial decisions resonate for decades. Some families begin each generation from a state of scarcity, while others commence each era with a robust foundation. The affluent do not labor solely for immediate income. They labor for their legacy. A property acquired today provides shelter for future generations tomorrow. A business established today offers opportunities for generations to come. An investment portfolio amassed today can grow exponentially long after you are gone, wielding even greater influence than any tangible asset. A financial philosophy passed down to your progeny becomes an everlasting inheritance. I once encountered an elderly gentleman named William, who lived a modest, unostentatious existence. Despite his humble demeanor, he possessed complete financial tranquility. He shared with me, "Jim, I did not labor solely for my own comfort. I worked so that the people I cherish would never be compelled to commence from nothing." That statement illuminated a profound truth. Genuine affluence is not measured by what you consume during your lifetime, but by what you leave behind. However, the tragedy lies in this. Many parents bequeath monetary assets but fail to impart guiding principles. Without these principles, the inherited wealth inevitably dissipates. I have witnessed families receive substantial inheritances only to lose everything within a few short years, precisely because they never acquired the mindset that was instrumental in its creation. Money devoid of a guiding mindset is akin to handing a child a fully grown tree without instructing them on the art of sowing seeds. They enjoy the fruit until it is entirely depleted. The affluent avoid this oversight. They transmit enduring habits. Prioritize paying yourself first. Invest consistently. Uphold the philosophy of valuing assets over immediate gratification. Cultivate essential skills, financial literacy, a capacity for value creation, a sense of responsibility, ownership, contribution, and unwavering discipline. This constitutes a legacy that is impervious to loss, a form of wealth that no economic downturn can confiscate. When you extend your vision beyond your immediate self, your investment decisions become more judicious. You cease to pursue fleeting gains or speculative trends. Instead, you select investments with enduring value. You identify assets that are built to last. You construct frameworks designed for longevity. You shift your focus from inquiring about next month's returns to contemplating the long-term significance of your actions over 30 years. This paradigm shift fundamentally transforms your entire financial existence. You will favor stability over ephemeral popularity. You will choose fundamental strength over transient fads. You will build assets that yield returns long after your departure. You will live not as a consumer of wealth, but as its progenitor. Therefore, ask yourself, am I spending my resources in a manner intended to impress the world today? Or am I investing in a way that will empower the world tomorrow? Your prosperity should not cease with your physical presence. It should continue to operate, educate, and provide. For the ultimate objective is not to expire with a substantial fortune, but to establish a foundation that enables the subsequent generation to commence from where you concluded. Once you have cultivated a legacy-oriented mindset, It is imperative to ensure that your wealth actively contributes to your present-day freedom, not merely on paper. Rule 9. Prioritize cash flow. Liberation commences with a consistent monthly influx of funds. Many individuals believe themselves to be affluent due to the possession of assets that appear valuable, such as residences, vehicles, stocks, business ownership stakes, and other high-value possessions. However, true wealth is not defined by what is recorded on paper. It is determined by what consistently generates income. A person with millions in assets can still experience profound anxiety each month if none of their holdings provide them with regular earnings. I once encountered a gentleman who proudly declared, "I am a millionaire." He owned numerous properties and a luxury automobile, yet each month he was consumed by stress managing payments for taxes, upkeep, and outstanding loans. He presented an image of affluence, but lived as an individual confined within the constraints of his own chosen lifestyle. Subsequently, I met another gentleman who, while not a millionaire on paper, possessed 3 rental units, a portfolio generating dividends, and a small enterprise that provided him with monthly income. He did not drive a luxury car, nor did he adorn himself with designer clothing, but he possessed something far more invaluable. He did not dread the end of the month. It was then I grasped a crucial insight. Assets that do not generate income are not true assets. They are merely emotional tokens. The affluent concentrate on the generation of cash flow, not on mere accumulation. Before acquiring anything, they pose a single pivotal question. Will this entity generate income for me, or will it deplete my resources each month? This question serves as the dividing line between those who are free and those who are trapped. A residential property that yields rental income is an asset. A residence that drains your finances is a liability, irrespective of its aesthetic appeal. A business that operates autonomously without your constant intervention is an asset. A business that falters the moment you cease your involvement is merely a job masquerading as ownership. A stock that distributes dividends is an asset. A stock whose value exists solely on paper represents potential, not immediate freedom. The ultimate objective is not to amass assets, but to accumulate income-generating assets, as financial liberation is an ongoing monthly experience, not merely a figure presented on a statement. You desire money that actively circulates, not merely money that exists. The affluent focus on cultivating income streams rather than projecting status. These streams include rental income, dividends, royalty payments, automated online sales, business profits, affiliate or licensing revenue, and earnings from content or intellectual property. These streams ultimately supplant the need for direct labor, enabling you to work by choice rather than out of necessity for survival. Therefore, ask yourself, if I were to cease working tomorrow, what sources of income would continue to sustain me? If the answer is none, then your foremost priority should not be increasing savings, upgrading your lifestyle, or pursuing fleeting trends. Your mission is to establish at least one dependable stream of passive or semi-passive income. It does not need to be substantial initially. It merely needs to be consistent. A modest influx today will lead to a more significant flow tomorrow, eventually becoming a powerful leverage point. Because true freedom does not materialize instantaneously. Freedom is constructed incrementally, one income stream at a time. And once your finances begin to flow consistently each month, the final step is to ensure that this money multiplies without limitation. Rule 10. Invest in people. Your true net worth is your network. The most affluent individuals globally do not ascend to prominence because they possess universal knowledge. They rise because they are acquainted with the appropriate individuals. Learn from reputable sources and collaborate with capable individuals. Money can procure numerous possessions, but only genuine relationships can unlock doors that currency cannot access. I once encountered a young entrepreneur named Alan. He was disciplined, talented, and diligently industrious, yet he felt stagnant. He confided in me, "I have studied every conceivable investment strategy and business skill, yet I am still unable to achieve a breakthrough." I then posed a simple question. "Who speaks favorably of you when you are not present in the room?" He fell silent. That silence revealed a truth that most individuals overlook. Your reputation precedes you far more rapidly than your individual efforts, and your relationships build wealth long before your monetary assets do. The affluent comprehend that success is rarely a solitary endeavor. They do not endeavor to attain riches in isolation. They invest in mentors, advisors, proficient teams, and supportive communities. They cultivate relationships with the same intentionality, consistency, and value creation focus that others apply to building assets. They do not pursue individuals for personal gain. They first contribute value to relationships. They inquire, "How can I assist this individual in achieving success? What can I offer before I make any request? How can both of us benefit from this connection?" They evolve into individuals whom others trust, respect, recommend, and wish to have by their side in business or in life. For here is a closely guarded secret. The affluent understand that skills render you valuable, but relationships render you unstoppable. Your intellect can generate concepts. Your skills can produce tangible products. However, it is the individuals surrounding you who amplify your impact, introduce opportunities, share invaluable knowledge, safeguard your blind spots, and expedite your journey. A prosperous gentleman once remarked to me, "If I were to lose all my assets tomorrow, I could rebuild them within 5 years, not because of my income, but because of the people who place their trust in me." This illustrates the potent force of social capital. A network is not merely a collection of contacts. It is a circle of trust, meticulously built through honesty, unwavering consistency, and profound integrity. In contemporary society, your net worth is not solely defined by your possessions. It is determined by your reputation and the caliber of individuals with whom you grow. Money can vanish. Economies can falter. Markets can experience dramatic downturns. However, if you possess knowledge and robust relationships, you possess the capacity to rebuild with unprecedented speed. Therefore, ask yourself today, who are the 5 individuals with whom I spend the most time? Are they contributing to my advancement, or are they maintaining my current state? Your trajectory, whether upward or downward, will be profoundly influenced by the circle you choose to inhabit. Do not merely accumulate assets. Forge alliances, cultivate mentors, build a reputation that opens doors, establish relationships that multiply value for all involved. For ultimately, money is merely an instrument. People are the true assets. You have just been introduced to 10 financial principles of the affluent. Not superficial tricks, clever hacks, or get-rich-quick fantasies, but fundamental principles. These principles possess the power to transform a modest paycheck into genuine liberation. They enable the accumulation of assets even while you are at rest. They safeguard your income, augment your value, and cultivate prosperity that endures beyond your lifetime. However, remember this critical point. You can hear a principle, you can intellectually grasp a principle, but only those who actively implement the principle will reap the reward. The majority of people will refrain from taking action. They will nod in agreement, feel momentarily inspired, and then revert to consuming their potential by treating their future seeds as immediate consumables instead of planting them. True freedom is not bestowed upon those who merely listen. It is attained by those who apply what they learn. Therefore, commencing today, pose yourself this powerful question every time money comes into your possession. Will this seed perish in my mouth, or will I plant it? Because liberation is not purchased with income alone. It is built through ownership, unwavering discipline, and consistent effort. You do not require more luck. You do not need a miracle. You require a single transformative habit: consistent daily practice. Prioritize paying yourself first. Invest with deliberate intention. Build assets before indulging in lifestyle enhancements. Allow value to dictate your income. Maintain control over your cash flow. Utilize debt and taxation with strategic wisdom. Embrace a generational perspective. Prioritize consistent cash flow. Invest wisely in people. And most importantly, make money your subordinate, not your master. If you adhere to this, you will not merely live well, you will live free. If this message resonated with you, if you sense a fundamental shift in your perspective on work, finances, and freedom, then do not let this lesson remain confined to your headphones. Subscribe to join this transformative journey of discipline, asset accumulation, legacy building, and wealth creation. Here we do not chase money, we cultivate freedom. Comment below to share which of the 10 rules impacted you most significantly and what action you will begin practicing today. Your response could be the very first seed of your financial metamorphosis. We are constructing something far grander than mere wealth. We are building a legacy. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cultivate a wealth mindset. Embrace your legacy. Think deeply. Build prosperity. Live freely.